So we are not yet at that point where we are launching out into a campaign, and that's why we are not alarmed at the findings, but we are actually encouraged that the leadership has consolidated and that the leader has pretty much ingratiated himself with the base of the party, and now we can move collectively as a team to address the other issues.
The poll, the RJRGLEANER, Don Anderson poll that we talked about,
right.
Because if we drill down a little bit more into the numbers, it shows that the JLP is 3 times as popular among the youngest voters, and perhaps something that is concerning to the PNP, or should be, given the history, is the PNP is losing among voters 45 and over. Isn't this a crisis for the party? And I know you mentioned the issue of being inwardly focused, and now you're going to pivot to being more outwardly focused. But in these key demographics,
yeah,
the party seems to be losing, especially in its traditional base.
Well, I'm going to ask the General Secretary to speak specifically on the poll data, because I think he's it's more suitable that he do so.
So, as the leader alluded to the fact that in looking at the polls, we take them for what they are. We're not in any contention with the polls or with the polls. We see them as a reflection of what was obtaining at that particular point in time. And we're taking into consideration all polls. Polls that your group would have done. There are other polls that are out there, and there are polls that we would do internally as well.
Which
so
we don't get to see.
Yes. We will eventually share some with you. So in looking at the data, it is expected that after having such a huge defeat, that the party would need to figure out an approach as to how to get us ready for the next election. Now, we could have taken a superficial approach and just started to market the product as is and hope that that will show an elevation in the numbers. Or we could take a decision to really arrest what are the root causes of the problem, to treat with those, and then to see how we build out a foundation to then launch out on a campaign. We've taken the latter approach, which is to say, what are the issues that are affecting our movement? The leader spoke to some of them. So because we've had leadership changes within the last decade or so, we've had leadership changes three times, and if you go back to the last 15 years, 4 times, then it requires that those issues that would have come because of those internal contests needed to be addressed. The party has also been accused of not having a message as to what we are about. And so it was also important for us to put a team in place that is going to look at the ideology of the party and how you communicate that in 21st century language, so that persons can identify with who we are and know what we want to do for the development of the country. And so the leader of the party as well would not have been somebody who was positioning themselves for leadership of the country for a long time, and therefore is relatively unknown to the general populace. The party selected him because of his qualities, and therefore it is our duty to first get him out to the base of the party. In watching a recent series on Portia Simpson Miller, former Prime Minister Golding said that after she became leader of the party, the international marketing experts said to him to get to your base. We didn't need him to tell us that we needed to get the leader of the party to the base of the party. And so a lot of what has been done over the first 2 years is to try and get the leader in touch with the base of the party, to energize the base of the party. There's then a pivot, which begins with this conference, with us approving our policy document that we then take to the road as to what we stand for. These are the policies that a future PNP government will come with. So all the issues in the poll have spoken to the fact that they want to see us cohesive and they want to hear what we are offering. And so that is the next phase of our plan.
I'm going to open the floor. Come on.
But as to the age group in terms of losing among voters 45 and over, I didn't hear you speak to that.
So in disaggregating it and looking at it via gender, via age group, all of it comes down to the same thing, that you need to address the issues that persons are having And then you need to move as a team to indicate to these persons how it is that a future PNP government will make life better for them. So we are taking it, not just looking at isolating one age group, but we're looking at the entire picture as to how it is that we communicate to these different age groups. So 18 to 25 needs to understand what it is that a Mark Golding-led PNP will do for them. This is what it will look like. This is what Jamaica will look like, right? The same thing for 25 to 35, 35 to 45, 45 and over. It is the same thing. They need to have a vision of what that is. So somebody who is over 45 or over 55 who no longer will benefit from an NHD subsidy needs to understand that a future government led by Mark Golding will reinstate that policy, and so they will be able to have easy access to housing opportunities. So we are not yet at that point where we are launching out into a campaign, and that's why we are not alarmed at the findings, but we are actually encouraged that the leadership has consolidated and that the leader has pretty much ingratiated himself with the base of the party, and now we can move collectively as a team to address the other issues.